stopping you from coming in. I don't know what reason and on what orders, because the officer asked me why. I asked the officer, why can't I go in? And then he in turn asked me why. Then I told the officer, I have orders from the court to come inside. Then he kept quiet. I said, do you read and write? I can give you the documents from the court to read. I gave it to him. He just browsed through it. I'm not sure if he understood what is on the document, and gave it back to me and kept on talking to people on the phone and still tried to send me out. I say, I am not moving an inch. Go to the High Court of the Gambia and bring me a document that says, Neneh, don't step your foot on that land. Then that will be the last day I step my foot on that land. But other than that, you are not bigger than the courts, and I will not go by your orders against the orders of the court. And that's why I am here, and I am bent on being here until the court orders me otherwise.
All right.
Thank you. And the reason why I called for the press conference was to just update the media, because you guys have been with me all throughout this journey. And also update the populace, the Gambians, because this is for Gambians. This is not for Neneh. This is not for my bosses. This is not for anybody. This is for Gambians. It's for Gambia. You all to benefit. It's for the people, not for an individual or a greedy investor or a cabal who are bent on enriching themselves against the will of the citizenry. Okay, this is for us.
You have won the case, and the court decided that you should be compensated.
Actually, I've not received.
Did you receive anything?
Today. We won 2 cases, and each time we win the case, the court will award us cost. We have not been paid any of those money.
Did you make findings? Did you make findings?
Yes, we did. We wrote to them, our lawyer, because I cannot go and ask for it. We have a legal team. Our lawyers have written for them to pay us our costs, but they have not paid till to date.
Have they responded to your message?
No, they have not. Well, it's a norm. The state never responds.
What next for you?
They only respond when it's favorable for them.
What next? Given the fact that, the security person is
here.
There's
nothing now. We're going to continue our works. Because I wanted to do the press conference and update people, then the contractor will commence work. As you see, we have cement, we have sand, we have so much sand inside the property. So much, because works commenced already before we entered into that battle. So things are going to continue by the grace of God.
All right.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody watching us. And thank you for following. Thank you for coming here yet again. The battle continues. This is a statement from Home of Medical Missions, Global Home, to shed more light on certain misrepresented facts and update you, the citizenry, on recent developments. Home of Medical Mission began coming to the Gambia in the year 2000 with medical missions, mobile clinics, health education, children's programs, and community development. More than 4,000 people received medical care each year from the volunteers of Global Home. It was on this basis of service and for the purpose of providing long-term medical care for the Gambia and its people that it was taxed on that statement. The timeline of events to when the legal battle commenced is all detailed in the same said press statement of November 2021. I will provide you with a copy for reference. But moving on to recent activities, I will provide you with all the following documents to make your own judgments. I have a copy of correspondences between Home of Medical Missions, Global Home, and the Gambia government prior to commencing the legal processes in court. I will also provide you with a judgment of 2019 from the magistrate courts, which was the initial judgment to determine the ownership of this land, which the court determined that it legally belonged to Global Home. I will also provide you actions of the state after the judgment of 2019, which I can tell you they did not obey the judgment. Another judgment from the High Court revoking states' illegal actions. And when I say states' illegal action, after the judgment, which was served to the state still wrote to us, the organization, telling us that they were going to repossess the land. That action they took, which means they did not respect the court judgment. There are further actions from the state and that is to write to us informing us that they have indeed revoked our lease. Then there was intervention from the Sheriff of the High Court in June. The Sheriff escorted us to the said land and gave us possession and handed us the land because it was directed by the High Court that the land belongs to us, and it was the Sheriff's responsibility to implement that action in June. But by then, the anti-crime was still in possession of this property. The Ministry of Interior engaged us and the IGP then to give them time so that their men will find a place to go and they will move out of the place. Finally, they did move, and a second time, the sheriff came officially to give us the property while it was empty. I want to remind you also of the state's action of our unlawful and illegal arrest of October 11, 2021, 2 days after we had a press conference here in the presence of the Sheriff of the High Court. There are judgments from the High Court on November 17th in regards to our unlawful illegal arrest of October 11th, which the court stated that the state violated our rights and thus their actions were unconstitutional. And the court awarded us each $100,000, myself and the staff who were arrested, and also $25,000 of court fees, of legal fees. On November 19, 2 days after we got a judgment from the court, we were rearrested, manhandled, harassed, embarrassed, and detained for 4 illegal days, paraded in different stations within West Coast and KM. We were only taken to court the 4th day, and we were granted bail by the courts. We then again sued the IGP and the Attorney General because the officers that arrested us claimed they were acting under orders from the IGP and the Attorney General. And just last week, actually this past Monday, June 20th, there was another, June 13, the High Court in Banjul ruled that the actions, that state's action against us by arresting us and detaining us for 4 days was unconstitutional. It was illegal, it was wrong, it was unlawful, it was just not right. And the court was very, very, very disgusted by the state action the second time, and then awarded us another cost and stated on no uncertain times that should we be arrested on our legal properties for no reason. The court judgment stated that. Again, the court in trying to, the state, in trying to continuously to disobey the rule of law of the land, in trying to massage their egos, file a process in court asking the court to set aside the judgment. Set aside meaning to revoke the judgment that the court previously delivered to say the property belongs to Home of Medical Mission, Global Home. After proceedings from January till June, that was Monday the 20th, the court dismissed the application of the state, saying that it lacked merit and they did not prove their case beyond reasonable doubt, and that the property still belongs to Home of Medical Missions, Global Home, and we should continue with our work. That was just Monday the 20th. May I remind the AG of his utterances in his press releases of 11th of October and 20th of October 2021. That was during our first and second arrest. They released statement in both instances. The AG claimed that there were 2 litigations ongoing in court. Now I ask the AG, at the time, if there were cases going in court, why did the OIC Secretariat, together with its purported investors, contractors, and engineers, make a site visit to the said property on the 20th of October, that is when there is a case still in litigation. I asked the IGP that question because I think he is a lawyer and he's supposed to be au fait with the law. And as Attorney General, you're expected to uphold, respect first and foremost the law because you are the custodian of the law. So we don't expect as citizens that you will be the very one to flout the law, to disrespect the law or orders of the court. I want to remind the AG that the state made an attempt by way of an application to strike out the suit on the representation that the property was one of those acquired by Yaya Jammeh and therefore a subject of the Jammeh Commission, which was in fact false. That was not a statement of truth. The said application was dismissed by the court because it lacked merit. It did not have any substance. The state thereafter accepted land rent from Home of Medical Missions in the sum of $589,000 is $500. I just want you to connect the dots. You just went to court and said they don't own the property. So that is corruption, it's fraud. His Excellency Barrow, at a meeting at State House, revealed to us that they have received $87 million from a foreign investor to build a hotel on this property. That was the arrangement he had with his executive. And they will use it for the OIC, which was for 3 days, he said. And after the 3 days OIC, the investor will continue to use the property as a private hotel. This particular statement by the president was later reiterated by the government spokesperson, Ibrahim Sankare, which we have on record. And it was tendered in court. It is unimaginable that as a lawyer, the Attorney General would state that the judgments or orders of the courts in favor of Home of Medical Mission are unenforceable. It is despicable for such a statement to come from a lawyer. It is a basic principle of law that all judgments and orders of courts are valid and subsist until set aside. Even lay people, I'm sure you journalists will agree with me on that. I'm not a lawyer, but I know that. I dare to say that contrary to the misunderstanding of the law by the Attorney General, all the orders obtained by the mission are enforceable, subsist to date. It has not been set aside. And nobody has the legal right, the authority to set aside a court judgment unless it's a competent court of same or higher jurisdiction. The Attorney General should provide you with the following answers with the following question. He said GHOMM, a Home of Medical Mission, is a non-legal entity and cannot own land. Why did the state itself granted the lease to the mission? That is a question I want the journalists to put to the Attorney General. Why permitted the mission to develop the land and equip the facility with hospital equipments in excess of $1.5 million? And citizens of the Gambia were utilizing the medical facility in this Gambia under the state's watch. After the judgment of the Magistrates Court in 2019, why accept land rent from the same mission, like I previously said, in the sum of $589,550? Why, which up to date, those monies, even though you still continue to obstruct us, even though you still continue to deprive of our property, even though you still continue to use state apparatus as banana jackets to obstruct us, but you still have not refunded us our money to say this money was not supposed to be paid because the land is not yours. Why? We want to know. The Attorney General has said that they have transferred the property to a private investor to build a hotel for the OIC. How then can you do such as the AG? The OIC Secretariat, in a press conference on Monday, 20th June, the same day the High Court dismissed the state's application, responded to a journalist that the property is 100% state-owned and has been given to a private investor. The question is, how the state can transfer the said property to a private investor when they have not yet acquired the property from the mission? It's an irony. With my little knowledge of the law, I know that one cannot give what he or she does not have. Ownership of the property remains with Home of Medical Missions, Global Home, and therefore the state could not have legitimately transferred it to anyone else. The state, through the AG, continues to take the law in their own hands and blatantly disobeying and disrespecting the orders of the courts. If left unchecked, their distasteful actions will sure compromise the sanctity of our courts and renders the rule of law of this land futile. One known professor said, Professor Kamarongo, once said, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It is also quite often said, health is wealth, and a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. I believe then, if health is wealth, the lack of health must be poverty. I now believe that you'll all agree with me. And I now know that you know why our country, the Gambia, is what it is today. We can only change our situations because it is only us who can. Global Home has brought solution to the Gambia and Gambian peoples. And we expect that the state should encourage, accommodate, support and partner with Home of Medical Mission to give Gambians what they need and what they deserve instead of try to frustrate our efforts. GHOMM, Home of Medical Missions, is determined to work in with this government to make sure healthcare is top-notch in this country, to make sure our citizens will not die because there are no medicines in the hospitals, to make sure our citizens do not have to pay exorbitant money to cross the shores, to cross on ferries, rushing to neighboring countries to seek medical attention when we can have it in our country, when Gambians can do it for Gambians in this country. That's what we want to make sure. That is our commitment, and we are determined. We will not relent. We are relentless. We are resilient to ensure that happens. And we are all doing this because we are backed by the highest arbiter of the rule of law in this country, that is the courts of the Gambia, and nothing is higher than the courts. And we stay in the side of the law, backed by the courts. And thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. And of course, I have the documents in soft copy or in hard copy for your reference of anything, any utterances I've made here for you guys to be able to write your reports or report to the people that are watching you.
I mean, you said the state asked you to pay rent, and that is about 500 and something thousand.
$589,550.
Which department of which institution in the country asked you to pay?
The director of lands. Lands, they gave us invoice. They gave us account number to pay it. We paid it from bank transfer to bank transfer. I have the receipt, the RTGS from our account to the accountant general, the treasury account. So that payment was done.
Now the state decided that, the state lands
should be under our approval. We should give you permission to do it. Otherwise, it is illegal, and you should be charged in contempt of court order. That is what should happen. And I think that's what are the things we have to put in emphasis. These men that you see here are illegally here. I did not ask them to come here. They said they are here by orders. Which orders, I don't know. So they're trespassing on my land. And that need to be put to them. They need to know. You guys, I invite you. I send you information and say, come. So you people should have been in here, not outside.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
We understand that the president is supposed to come here to do laying of the foundation stone construction for this hotel.
Yes.
What's your response to that?
Well, for me, I still make it think it's a plan. Until it happens, I cannot comment on that. Even though they've made utterances that in July, the president is going to come to lay foundation stone. I don't know on what authority the president is banging on to come and perform such an action. But let's watch and see whether the president, who is supposed to protect all of us, who's supposed to be promoting the rule of law, who's supposed to be making sure the right thing is done, who's supposed to be making sure our judiciaries are functional, who's supposed to be making sure nobody compromises the sanctity of our judiciary. Let's see whether he himself will be in contempt, because if the president comes here, I'm not inviting him. It's not going to be under our invitation, and he also will be trespassing on this land, and he will be sued. He will be charged for contempt. We will make sure we go to court to file contempt proceedings against him, because nobody is above the law.
We have seen that obviously this place is dilapidated. Some of the properties like what we are seeing over there, cement and the rest of them are outside there for a very long time. What's your plan with them? Are you going to be able to bring them into your property, or?
We will continue to make attempts to continue our work. This is the smallest amount of money that you find out there. May I say, since when we got the first judgment in 2019, we shipped 2 40-foot containers of paint, tile, materials for work. All right? And when the anti-crime was still here and not leaving, we could not walk when the anti-crime was here. Those things were in a storage, and all the paint got dry, the white cement got dried, you know, some of the medical equipment, the ink exploded. So we have lost a lot of money and continue to lose money. Money that we could have invested in this property and benefit citizenry, benefit Gambians. Maybe the Attorney General would be one of the people who's going to benefit from this facility. He will not have to send himself or family members to Dakar or England or America. Think about that, because you have it right at your doorstep. You have it right where all your family members will be able to be with you and show you love and care for you. Who knows? So it's like yange gaspach why henya pach bobu non yo ya fa duga sax.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
You made mention of that GHOMM is willing to work with the government. Given that the state is ready to partner with you, are you going to give them a chance?
Well, and I think that's what partnering means. That's what collaborating means. That's what supporting means. We cannot work in isolation. That is not possible. And since day one, may I remind you that this organization were done and over with this place and Gambia. We concentrate in the sub-region, in other countries, other West African countries and East Africa. That's where the organization has been concentrating. It was this same government that sent a delegation to America and met the owners, the initiators of this place, and say, we are sorry. Everything that happened was Yaya Jammeh because Yaya Jammeh is bad. So please come back, because the good work you were doing, we are aware of it. It was very beneficial to the people of the Gambia, because we cater for the vulnerable. We cater for the low-income people. We cater for people who cannot go to even Dakar, much more America or Turkey or India. Those are the people that we cater for, because we know the Gambia, the poverty rate is high. The salaries are low. That's why people are sick. And that is what the organization focuses on. They came and met us. And we say, put it on writing, they wrote. That's how the communication started. The team came from America, Virginia, came to the Gambia and met with the officials. And we continue to meet. We continue to write. But when this idea of being dubious, being corrupt, and being greedy came into some of their minds, the tone started to change. The willingness started to drop. And we're starting to see resistance. And that's when we were advised and say, go to the courts and have the courts legally give it to you. Because everybody believes that when the court speaks, nobody has a right to do otherwise but what the court says. That's what was the belief of all of us and our legal team and everybody else. That was the belief. So that's when we initiated court action in 2019.
Just to, can you clarify, there has been some rumors that the government has approached with a GHOMM to pay. I've received some of that rumors from some people.
Well, since the initiation of communication from the organization and this government, I have been the liaison person. Nothing comes from America that does not pass through me. And nothing goes to America if it doesn't pass through me. They have tried to contact them directly, but they said, go through Neneh. Whatever letter through Neneh, whatever communication through Neneh, otherwise we will not listen. So I am not aware, as I speak to you, of any attempts from the government to negotiate with us or to compensate us, because there was a statement made by the AG in one of the press releases that they have tried to give us another piece of land. Now, I ask the question. You say we are not a legal jurisdiction to own property in this country, right? Why would you negotiate to give us another piece of land? May I ask that? Because that still continues to baffle me. We are not existing, so why would you negotiate with us? We are not existing. Why did you travel to America to talk to us? We are not existing. Why did you collect money from us? We are not existing. Why are you suing us in court, which you've lost? So, I mean, let's ask ourselves these questions. If what they're saying is anything to go by.
And also the NHRC, in their report, did make reference to your case. I don't know if you've seen it. So they are obviously involved in this because these police officers that we see here, they are all subject to oversight from the National Human Rights Commission. And they are stopping you from legally entering your property. So what's your response about it?
Well, just to say that we still have people that live in the era of 22 years of authoritarian rule. They have not gotten out of that shell because they don't understand what's up, which they need to. After the TRRC, I think everybody should have been awoke. Everybody should have been enlightened, and everybody should have been more loving to each other as Gambians, as people, as humans, than allowing themselves to be used. That's what I expect. But like you rightly say, the Human Rights Commission, a very reputable organization, did their findings, did their investigations. They consulted with the Attorney General. They consulted with the courts. They consulted with everybody that in one way or the other is involved in this or is a stakeholder. And they were able to determine that we were wrongfully arrested, the actions were illegal and unconstitutional, and our human rights were violated because we were humiliated, we were harassed, we were frustrated, we were manhandled, right? In the front of, it's on camera. The records are there. It's not a matter of I think or I'm assuming. It's there on camera. So that's why the Human Rights Commission came out with that report, and our issue was highlighted. I mean, if you haven't read it, I think it's page 24 and 25 of the report that was just out a week ago or 2 weeks ago. You might want to refer to that report and see what the Human Rights Commission has said. So again, the state has instituted an institution, but still continue to disrespect that same institution that they have set up to say they wanted human rights to be protected in this country. What I forgot to mention, there was in 2018, right? In 2018, the first thing we did was went to the courts, the Registrar General, and get something they call a caveat, right? A caveat, and you can look it up. What is a caveat? When the court gives you caveats, which means whatever they've given you caveat on, nobody has a right to touch it or do anything else unless you go to the court. So from the first instant, this caveat was saying, don't do anything on that property until the court decides. So nobody had rights to do anything from that onset. So we have always. So with this caveat, it's only the court that can set it aside. So, but then they still continue to disrespect and ignore and flout everything that the court has done from inception to date. Gentlemen, yeah.
Thank you.
Pass it over some
It's a whole dossier. Anything